This entitled parent is trying to force this hard-working employee to break the law, and when he refuses, she does the most ridiculous and ironic thing possible. Happy birthday, today's your birthday, and on with the revamped show. So this happened the other day, and I'll try and recount this as accurately as possible. I've been working in a vape store for a few months to pay my bills and university expenses, and I actually have a few entitled joke stories from working here. For some context, in my country it's legal to smoke, vape, drink, drive, vote at 18, but the store I work at will make some allowances, provided the parent is present with their ID, a letter or form of consent, and that most of the transaction goes through the parent. So basically the minor can pick a flavor, but the parent can taste it and tell the kid if it's okay or not, and that way we can't get in trouble with law enforcement. As a last note, we cannot hold them at all if the kid is in any kind of school uniform. Now on to the story. Just a normal quiet day at the store when a young looking kid, EK, in school uniform walks in and says he wants to buy a vape. I tell him no because he looks underage and he's wearing a school uniform. He says he's 18. He definitely isn't. He's maybe 15 at the most. And he can go get his ID. I explain again that even if he was 18, I still can't sell it to him because he's in school uniform. And the only way I can sell anything to a minor is if his parents are present and they sign a consent form, and he isn't in uniform. He leaves in a huff and I think that's the end of it. Boy was I wrong. A few minutes later he walks back in with a grin on his face and his mother in tow. EP is your typical Karen type, who perpetually has a look on her face like someone smeared dog crap under her nose. EK points me out to her and she storms over. "My son says you refused to sell him a vape. I demand to know why, and you will help him now." "I'm sorry ma'am, but I did explain to your son our store policy." Explains the policy but forgot to include the uniform bit. "He's 18, he can buy whatever he wants. And I'm here now, so I don't see why you can't sell him one now." I'll need his ID, and I seriously doubt he's 18. And he's still in school uniform, so I still can't help him. There could be serious legal repercussions for us and for your son. "That's unacceptable. I want to talk to your manager. I don't need some teenager telling my son what he can and can't buy. Especially since you're vaping and you're a teenager." I go and call my manager and explain the situation. He just rolls his eyes, since this isn't the first time he's dealt with people like this. "Hello ma'am, what seems to be the problem?" "This rude bee won't sell us vape. She told my son he can't have one because he's a teenager, even though she is one." "Ma'am, this employee is 23, and please refrain from insulting her. She's absolutely right about the policy, so we can't help you today. We will give you a form to sign with a copy of your and your son's ID if applicable. Come in tomorrow without a uniform on, and we will be happy to help you." "My son wants to vape now, and I demand a discount because of how poorly we've been treated." "I'm sorry ma'am, but no." "I want to speak to the owners of this store. I will have both your jobs and have you arrested for selling a vape to a minor if you don't sell him one right now." That doesn't make sense, but whatever. Manager calls the owner on the phone and hands it to the EP. She yells through the phone about how horrible she's been treated, etc, etc. She hands the phone back to the manager with a self-satisfied smirk, and he explains the situation to the boss, who tells him to ask these people to leave and that we weren't allowed to sell to them under any circumstances. "I'm sorry ma'am, but the boss says you have to leave. We can't help you." "Fine, then give me the forms and we'll be back tomorrow, and I expect a huge discount." "No ma'am, you aren't allowed to purchase anything here. We can't tolerate unwarranted threats." "How dare you! You will hear from my lawyer. Come EK, you're lucky you didn't get a vape here. They're probably crap anyway." My manager and I had a bit of a laugh after she left, and we never heard from a lawyer and haven't seen her since. I'm not sure why people can't distinguish the difference between something that's legal and something that's a store policy. Maybe the kid's 18, alright, we'll give you that. But different stores can still have their own policies, which means you can't just get your way. You're not entitled to anyone else's labor or property. You have to go into a voluntary agreement with them, in which they choose to trade with you. And just as you can say no and refuse their products and services, they have the moral right to refuse to sell to you. I have snakes as pets due to my passion for them. None of the snakes are venomous, only constrictors. My parents knew about my passion since I was little, and while it took them a while to get used to it, they're now totally cool with my snakes. I keep the snakes in their enclosures in my room. However, whenever my parents' friends who have 2 kids, 9 male and 11 female, come over, the mum always complains about the safety of their children. I have a rule that the kids can't go into my room because they always go through my stuff and ruin things. Their mum always talks crap to my parents like, "Why do you even allow her to keep snakes? Those aren't pets. You should throw them all away. You should tell her to move out. How can you accept that?" The dad is totally cool, and even asked me a few times if he can hold the snakes. Now I have tried explaining to the mum multiple times that they cannot escape due to their enclosures. They could only escape if I wasn't paying attention and not closing their enclosures. And if they do escape, I have docile species that are constrictors, not venomous, that don't even bite and would just run away and hide because they're scared. Yesterday, they came over. When I went to the bathroom, the kids went in my room, and I could hear the little boy yelling, "Mommy, Mommy, come check this out!" But I thought it was something random. When I came out of the bathroom, I found the mum looking horrified at her children being amazed by my snakes. Of course I started smiling when I saw the kids paying so much attention to the snakes and being curious. It makes me happy when people don't have the "it's a snake so it must be bad, venomous and kill me" mentality. But that smile soon disappeared when the mum started yelling at me. My parents came as well into my room to see what was happening. She kept yelling at me that her kids could have been in danger and how irresponsible I am. And how could I keep snakes as pets and so on, after the 1,000 plus times I explained to her that my snakes are docile and not venomous. And it's not her business what I keep as pets and what my passion is. She kept yelling at me, telling me crap, and I was just looking at her like, what the heck? What the frick are you smoking? After nicely explaining to her that her kid's life was not in danger because the snakes couldn't escape, she, still yelling, started telling my parents that I need to move out, and how could they live with me? At that point I snapped and I started yelling at her that when I went to the bathroom I closed my door, and if anyone was at fault it was she because she didn't teach her kids to respect rules, and since my parents agreed to let me have snakes in their house, I shouldn't be her problem. I never forced her to look at my snakes, I never forced her to handle them, and I never forced her to listen to me explain the different types of snakes and all that, because I know she is afraid of snakes, so I never pushed this onto her. I would only tell her about my snakes when she would randomly talk crap about them. I grew up differently. When I was told no, it was no. When I was told you're not allowed to go in there, I wouldn't. So I expect the same from her, because she always talks about how great of a parent she is. She just lets the kids do whatever they want. She just called me a jerk and told me I need to get rid of my snakes or move out of my parents' house, or else she won't be coming anymore. When my parents, and even her husband, took my part, she got super ticked off, took the kids and went home. I understood her concerns, but she needs to understand that it is my room and her kids shouldn't have come in there, especially that my door was closed and they know the rule. I'm not okay with her allowing her kids to do whatever they want. However, I feel bad for the kids, because they are curious and want to know more about the worm dragons, as they call my snakes. The dad said it's totally cool and would love for the kids to know more about snakes, other than snake bad, snake bit, you die mentality their mum is teaching them. The mum's been ignoring me and my parents, and doesn't even talk with her husband because he took my part. I texted her and asked her if she feels so unsafe when she comes over, why does she even keep coming over? You'd think if she had a phobia of snakes, she would avoid the house that contains the snakes. It's one thing if the snakes were dangerous. Maybe then it would be somewhat reasonable to be like, whoa, why have you got these things in your room? But considering they were virtually harmless, this is where you should just go by the motto, live and let live. Like if she had a dog in her house and somebody had a phobia of dogs, I don't think she'd be pretty happy if somebody's saying, hey, get rid of these dogs or move out of this house. If you're not causing harm to anyone else, you should be able to live however you want in your home. Not directly happening to me, but I witnessed it and shake my head hard to believe these people exist. I was eating at a local restaurant when the person next to me called over a waiter. I didn't think much of it, but listened in anyway, when they started asking for the Wi-Fi. Here is where the fun begins. What's the Wi-Fi password? Oh, we don't have a password on our public Wi-Fi. This Wi-Fi's too slow, I'm talking about the private internet. Waiter was clearly taken aback. We don't give out that password. EM raising her voice to cause a scene. If you're gonna give us slow free Wi-Fi, at least let people use the private internet. Mom, it's fine. Don't worry, sweetie. I'll get you good Wi-Fi soon. No, you won't. How about this? I'll sue you, or you give me the password. Okay, sue us. Not like the cops will do anything about us not giving out company Wi-Fi passwords. I'll be suing you for harassment, honey. Mommy, stop. I like eating here and I don't want to get kicked out. I have orders to attend to. EM turned to me and says something I will never forget as long as I live. All this fuss over some Wi-Fi? Some people will just never understand. This event actually happened only 20 minutes before I started typing this. I was walking my young doggo called Bonnie and decided I was going to a nearby field which not many people go to, so it gives Bonbon a chance to run around without her lead on. When we got there, I could only see a woman and what I assumed was her child. This was a relief for me, since that meant Bonnie wouldn't get protective, like she does when there are crowds of strangers or other dogs around. Just so you know, when this doggo gets protective, she still won't bite. She'll just bark a bit and do a quiet growl when the crowd got too close to her. The only time I've ever seen her get into full-on attack mode was when another dog got aggressive and started going for her. Luckily, that same dog that got aggressive got a new home and was trained to behave. Bonnie and that dog actually get along well now. Maybe I'll come back to that story another time, but for now, back to this one. Remember that seemingly normal mother with her child? Turns out that she was an entitled mother in disguise. Bonnie had just, well, you know, done what doggos do out of their fluffy butts. But before I cleaned it up, I was first gonna let Bon off her lead. But of course, a wild EM appeared. This monstrous thing people seem to call a woman quickly walks up to me while practically dragging her kid, who looked around 7, along with her. Young lady? At first I didn't hear her, and was too distracted leaning trying to unclip the lead. That seemed to have gotten jammed. Young lady, she said as if I couldn't speak a word of English while tapping on my shoulder. Oh, sorry, what is it? Are you gonna pick that up or what? She said while pointing at Bonnie's mess. My child could play with that thinking it's just a toy, or I could even walk in it. Hold on, did this woman think her child would mistake it for a toy? Despite that, I kinda got where she was coming from since no one likes it when people don't pick up after their pets. So I thought I'd just explain and thought she would be okay after that. Key word being thought. Oh, don't worry, I wasn't gonna leave it. I'm just letting my dog off the lead first while I was gonna pick it up. I put on one of my smiles. Do you take me for an idiot? I bet you weren't planning on cleaning up at all. I bet you didn't even bring any dog bags. Teens these days. I clearly had bags hanging out of my pocket. Before I could say any form of a reply, she spat out, Hold on, did you just say you were gonna let that thing off its leash? Do you want my child to be attacked by that? At this point she was yelling at me, acting like I had a killing machine. My dog isn't even one of those common dogs that people can mistake for being attackers. She's a York crossed with a Shih Tzu. Come on, the only thing she can kill are teddies and actual toys. She's basically harmless. She literally won't even harm a fly. She's scared of them. I awkwardly laughed, trying to get this person to calm down. I wasn't lying about my dog. You're only saying that because you're annoyed I caught you red-handed. So now you want your dog to attack me and my child. Is she for real? Wasn't I taking her lead off before she came and before I noticed her? Only moments after the woman finished her sentence, I was able to unjam her lead clips, so on excitement, my little Bonbon went sprinting off. She sprinted with her tail wagging and her legs moving at 1,000 miles per hour, and the doggo's tongue hanging out of her mouth. Of course, this mother didn't see the cuteness in this. You idiot! Do you realize I can get your dog put down if he goes anywhere near me or my child?
Heck, I can even put him down for making me feel like I'm in danger.
This is actually true where I live. It's completely possible to get a dog of any size or breed put down for just making the person uncomfortable. I don't really like dogs being put down no matter what, since most just need better homes or just need better training.
Look at the dog go, Mum. Can I please pet her? No, sweetie. You see, this dog can hurt you, and Mummy doesn't want that.
Does this mother have multiple personalities? Seconds later, I realized I made a horrible mistake. I was still leaning down and was keeping an eye on my dog when her lead was snatched from my hand. What the heck do you think you're doing? Give it back.
Why should I, when you have this ticking time bomb that's waiting to attack me or my child?
My innocent dog was almost at the other side of the field, running around having the time of her life, completely unaware of what's happening. Are you serious?
Of course I am. Now call your dog over so I can take it down to the police.
Why is this, can't say this word because it's too offensive, to my dog, so dumb? A thought came into my head at the perfect time. Bonnie gets really excited when a new person holds her lead. I don't know why. And tends to jump a lot. Okay, miss.
Finally, some logic is being used.
As soon as I called Bonnie, she came running at high speed, and I could see her eyes dart at EM and her lead. Luckily, Bonbon, my hero, came running to EM from behind and surprised the heck spawn and ended up knocking her over. But guess what EM landed on?
You filthy dog! Get away! What the heck is that on my arm? You little...
I guess I should have picked it up like you said. The kid started to laugh and finally got to pet the hero. That goes by the name of Bonbon. Of course, EM was still yelling when she was trying to get up, but I got Bon's lead back and thought it's about time to head home. Submit your story to be read on the channel at voiceyherestories@gmail.com and join our Voicey veteran community at r/VoiceyHere. Don't forget to like, subscribe and hit that bell to never miss an episode. Alright Voicey veterans, I'll see you in the next one.